The first half of the year is done. I was not invited to Cannes this year, but saw enough movies to be able to make this. Now presenting the best movies I've seen in 2024 so far. The self-proclaimed edgelord, Harmony Korine, says he is bored with movies, so he decided to shake up the medium with the sensory experience video game film, Aggro Drift. Presented entirely in infrared photography, the film follows a tormented assassin named Bo as he prepares to vanquish a demonic crime lord in a Floridian realm. It's the familiar story of a haunted assassin on a final job, but displayed in a way I personally haven't seen before. Everything works for me here. The phantasmagoria visuals you see in the video game or anime, the edgelord's dope poetry lines, characters repeating dialogue like NPCs, and the fitting electronic score by Arab Music. So yeah, watch this one for the vibes. I know that we typically reserve the actual rankings for the end of the year list, but I seriously doubt I'll see a better movie than Bertrand Bonello's The Beast. Like a David Lynch film, I couldn't wait to experience this one again, so I rewatched it soon after. Loosely based on Henry James's Beast in the Jungle, it tells the story of two people meeting in their past lives in the year 1910, 2014, and in the present year 2044, where artificial intelligence is taking over. The film feels like a blend of time-hopping sci-fi like Cloud Atlas and Eternal Sunshine, mixed with Hou Hsiao-hsien's romantic drama 3 times. Still covering the main themes of James's novella, while also exploring the destructive power of AI. The finest Bonello film I've seen yet, and Léa Seydoux is fantastic, who is rightfully described to be on her way to having a Binoche Hooper-like career. Coming off his impressive doubleheader just 2 years ago, Ryusuke Hamaguchi's back with another banger with Evil Does Not Exist. It tells the story of life in a mountain village disrupted by a real estate project. The film follows a single father and his daughter from the village and the 2 representatives from the developers. A story as simple as a villager life that displays the effects of prioritizing profit over the environment, especially when it disturbs the elemental ways of the natural world. The whole thing is meticulously shot and full of visual metaphors, and a beautiful score too. One of the very best in the game, a Hamaguchi release is always a treat. George Miller returns to the Wasteland almost a decade later with the spin-off prequel Furiosa. Definitely not as good as Fury Road since, that's a perfect miracle of a film, but it's George Miller and I'm paying extra for IMAX. Set before the events of Fury Road, it follows Furiosa's life from being kidnapped by Dementis as a child to her becoming the Imperator. We still got the elaborate action sequences, top-tier visual effects in the colors, the wacky-ass moments and characters, while being set in different parts of the wasteland. With the longest running time in the franchise, this entry shifts to a slower pace with a more drawn-out narrative of suffering and desperate hope. Anya Taylor-Joy and her eyes are great, and Chris Hemsworth is an instant classic wasteland character. My boy Rick Linklater is back with another Netflix hit called Hitman. He teams up again with Glenn Powell, who has now really blown up since everybody wants him. It follows a professor who also works as an undercover police contractor who poses as a reliable hitman. The film starts as a classic Linklater slice of comedy, then it's actually a steamy romantic comedy, and then all of a sudden we're watching a thriller. Throw in some philosophical commentary lines that often appear in his other works, and we got another fun Linklater hit. Cool New Orleans backdrop and soundtrack. I don't even mind Powell here, and Arjona is great. And if you haven't checked out his other Netflix film, Apollo 10.5, it's good stuff. A film I unfortunately missed in the theaters that I'm sure will make its return someday is S.J. Clarkson's instant classic debut, Madam Web. It tells the origin story of Cassie Webb as she confronts her past while trying to save 3 young women from a man who wants to kill them before they become Spider-Women in the future and kill him. It's a sci-fi thriller flick about a woman with foresight ability going toe-to-toe with a webless corporate Spider-Man to protect the future forces of good. The cast is great, especially Dakota Johnson, who naturally plays the awkward edgy girl who suddenly gains a super mental ability and for some reason can't open a goddamn Pepsi can. The confrontation of her past is good stuff too, and unexpectedly hilarious at times. It's a fun movie and something different. One of my favorite films from 2023 is Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, and Part 2 is more of that dope stuff. After the events of Part 1, the warriors return to Veld to help the farmers defend and fight against the Mother World. It's the timeless tale of the fight against oppression, just now told in a new world by the one and only Zachary Snyder. A main character with constant internal struggle, and the warriors with their respective redemption arcs versus the ruthless tyrants. Sick world and character designs, epic visuals and score. I personally enjoy this one a lot. I am hoping that Netflix keeps letting Snyder do whatever the hell he wants so we can get more blockbusters like this. Plus, I'm already sold on the premise for the next part. Another debut I really enjoyed is Shoshana Night Shyamalan's The Watchers. It's about an American expat who gets stranded in extensive forest in Ireland. After finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside three strangers as mysterious creatures watch them each night. And what's a more fitting Shyamalan debut than a supernatural horror revolving around grief and trauma? Overall, a solid direction from Ishana that had me invested the whole time. The film also feels more understated, similar to her dad's last two features, Old and Knock at the Cabin, where she served as second unit director. Incredible performance from Dakota Fanning, who I feel like I haven't seen in anything in a while. M. Night's next film is out soon, and he might show who's still the boss. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing more from this prospect. Wes Anderson is a busy man these days. After dropping The Wonderful Asteroid City last year, he's already back with The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and 3 more. A project I've already discussed in length, but it's an anthology film of his Netflix-produced shorts based on the stories from Roald Dahl. It's a film appearing to be an old UK telefilm with a theater stage set backdrop and characters reciting lines like an audiobook. To make it even more meta, there's a Roald Dahl character and he uses the same group of actors across the shorts. I found this film to be a constant delight, and this type of production is a perfect fit to Anderson's style. With back-to-back bangers, I'm for sure hyped for his next feature, which apparently is already in production. So an overall pretty solid first half in film. There are still some releases that I missed, which I'll definitely be catching up on, and I'll be looking forward to the next half and how this year's films will rank behind The Beast.